Hello, and thank you for buying Henson's Flying Machine's Eindecker Peanut Scale. This kit is available in both ply and balsa and is designed for the starter or novice builder. To prepare the kit, you will need a sharp knife or scalpel, superglue or balsa cement, and a 90-degree edge for which you can use one of the edges of the balsa sheet. Prepare each part by first marking it with a pencil according to the numbers sheet on the A3 plan included, and then remove from the sheet by carefully cutting through the tabs, like so. The initial parts needed are the fuselage sides, parts 1A and 1B, like so. Following on, there is the front of the cockpit, part 2A, rear of the cockpit, part 3A, and the cockpit floor and landing gear support, part 4A. Begin with the front of the cockpit, part 2A, and slide it into these two slots here as seen. First of all, using an offcut, check that it is at 90 degrees, and then glue the section in place with a small amount of glue running along where the two pieces of wood butt together. Moving further down, part 3A, the rear of the cockpit fits into the tabs provided here. Again, check for that 90 degrees. Once you're satisfied, glue into place. The cockpit floor and landing gear support, part 4A, fits into the center of the three slots in the bottom, like so. Check the attachment and glue along the inner edge. It will sit slightly proud of the bottom of the fuselage. That's fine and can be sanded a little bit later for the extra detail. To fit part 1B, the other fuselage side, simply slot it over the tab holes in the already assembled section. These will flex slightly, be careful not to crack them in the balsa version. And then rotate the model till you're happy with it. Flip it over, make sure it's square, and then glue along where the wood meets and into the tabs. Part 5A is the next part in, the engine detail, which fits into the two tabs on the top of the front. Just check that it's fitting flush on both front ends, into the tabs, and glue along that inside edge, like so. The next step is to take fuselage front 6A, which fits into the slot here, rear of the cockpit. Slide that in with the tabs upwards, just like so. The fuselage will start to slightly pinch together there. Just align it vertically and fully down into the tabs, and then glue all the way along, making sure to also glue inside of the tab holes on either side. The rear of the fuselage is formed by part 7A, the smaller rectangle, which fits in from the bottom with the tabs in place. Slightly pinch the fuselage together, being careful of the fragility of it. Push it down into the tabs make sure that it is vertical and that the tapered ends of the fuselage are parallel to each other, and then glue again along both sides and into the tab holes at the bottom. Make sure it's dry before moving on to the next step. With the main section of the fuselage complete, lay it aside for now and begin working on the wing section, part 8A. The wing ribs or profiles that come with it need to be laid out in the following order. Taking the first one, set it on the inside of the rectangular cutout in the wing. Now you will have to align these either forward or backwards. In this case I'm going to align them forward. Glue it at the front, like so, at the rear, and then for strength just run glue all the way down the side where the rib comes into contact with the main part of the wing. Next, on the outside of the wing, start your next profile, glue along the edge and at the front and rear. Moving slightly from the inside of the outer wing, glue your next profile here, align it again towards the front, glue front, back and down the inside. And again, this wing support here is where your wiring and rigging will go through, so it needs a little bit of extra bracing, so you're going to put another wing rib just on the inside of this main section. Now you want to equally space 3 wing ribs into the open spar area here. Make sure that these are at 90 degrees to the actual wing profile itself using a small offcut, and equally spaced. Then glue at the front and at the rear. Now, once they are set and in place, repeat the entire process with the other profiles for the other side of the wing. And there are spare profiles included in the kit in case of any breakages, or if you want to put extra profiles for strength in those spaces. With all of the wing profiles in place, you will find in the kit 2 main wing spars. There are 2 of these in case of breakages. Fit them into the top of the wing profiles like so. They should run the full length, and then glue into the notches in the top, holding down flush the whole way along the length. This will add strength to the wing profiles and to the wing in flight in the lighter Balsa models. The next step is to take the sides of the cockpit's parts 9A and B. These fit over the main wing spar and into the slots in the top of the wing there, like so. Place it over the main wing spar and let the tabs settle down into the slots in the wing. Push it down firm, don't glue it quite yet. Do that for both sides, like so, being very careful not to damage that main spar. Right, the next part to fit is the instrument cluster here, the front of the cockpit, which is part 11A. That fits on top of the main spar between parts 9A and B, just like so, and we'll make sure that the distance is correct. Sit it on top of the main wing spar and just glue very gently along the edges and to the main wing spar. Now you can angle this backwards if you want, and at this stage you can also glue in the cockpit sides. The next step in the build is to start attaching the wing into the fuselage. As you can see, the wing slots directly into the cutouts in the fuselage and then pushes down tightly. Very careful not to warp or damage the balsa. Sides fitting flush, like so. Turn the model over and just compare it on both sides and make sure that the sides of the cockpit are flush with the sides of the fuselage. You can be very careful in adjusting it, like so. Once you're happy with it, turn the model over and just glue where the wing layers into the fuselage. Allow that to set. The next step is to build the top of the nose, which is parts 12A, B and C. So, starting with part 12A, align this from the front across the top of the nose area there at an angle. Again, glue it starting from the front, and then where it meets the cross sections of the fuselage, the cockpit instruments, and bending the leg slightly downwards where it meets the fuselage here and along the seam, like so. Part 12B is the top of the cowling, positions like so, again fitting directly to the front. Dry fit part 12C to make sure your alignment is correct. Once you're happy with it, remove part 12B and glue part 12C into place using the same method used for part 12A. Again, remembering to slightly bend the rear leg and glue it into place and along the seam, and then fitting the top of the cowling, part 12B, proportional to each side and again lined up towards the front. Glue along the front where it meets the instrument cluster and down the sides. Now, to get that proper Eindecker front, you can round off the edges either by trimming with a knife or sanding with some fine grit sandpaper, or even a nail file will work to get a very rounded edge to it there. The next part to fit is the rear seat back, part 10A, which fits just here into the back of the cockpit and pulls up against parts 12A and C. Just glue sides there and also to where it meets the rear of the cockpit, which will add just a little bit more strength to it. Laying the fuselage aside for now, it's time to start on the tail, which consists of part 13A, the tail center and landing skid, parts 14A and B, the reinforced sides, and part 15A, which is the triangular center. The main tailplane is 16A. Laying part 13A down, place part 14A directly over it so that the two holes align, making sure that there is a gap, the width on top there. In some of the cuts the hole will be slightly offline, but make sure that you have the width of the balsa free on top, and glue along the sides like so. Then once it's dry, turning it over, lining part 14B in the same way, the hole and just down, and gluing in place. Part 15A, the tail triangle, fits over the top of these with the tail skid facing backwards and the triangle slot like so. Make sure that it's central and glue it to both part 13A and 14A and B for a properly strong bond. There's a small touch in the front of this slot here, like so. The tail assembly as it is then fits into the rear of the fuselage, like so, just slightly parting and then pulling together both sides, making sure that the tail triangle is flush with the top, and then gluing from the underneath just where it meets, like so. Once that's dry, you can start to dry fit the main tail plate part 16A, which fits just so over that slot. Now make sure that this is directly parallel to the main wings. Dry fit it as necessary and then glue along the front edge before turning it over and gluing where it meets the sides of the tail. Continuing with the nose, you need cowling sides part 19A and B, which fit with the little cutout underneath the wing and flush with the nose, aligned along with the fuselage to create that characteristic Eindecker bulge. Glue along the edges and underneath the wing. This will give the wing a little bit more strength, and also on the nose cone, making sure it's flush. Repeat with part 19B on the opposite side, checking that it's flush and aligned, and then gluing in place. The further detail of the cowlings are parts 20A and B, which then fit centrally on top of parts 19A and B to continue the power bulge of the radial engine. Make sure they're aligned to the front and central on parts 19A and B. The half-round cowling inner, part 17A, fits over the front assembly and is aligned according to the bulges of the cowling and the top round there. Now, make sure that the centre hole is clearing in the middle, and then just align both sides flat and the top to include the curve as necessary, and then glue around the inside edge and where it meets the fuselage on the bottom. The next part of the cowling is the outer, part 18A, which needs to be aligned by eye, central, and then glued on the inside. Like so. Now, if you want to get a very nice rounded cowling, you can sand down the edges of these or use a file just to get the right look to it. Turning the model over, it's time to start fitting the landing struts, which are parts 20A and B and 22A and B. The triangular shape goes with the flatter edge towards the forward and fits into the 2 slots like so. Just dry fit that for now, and then take part 22 and line it from one of the center holes in the undercarriage support, and then using a finger just test fit until you're happy, and glue that all of the parts meet into the fuselage and where the support connects, like so. Glue on the outside as well, just for strength. If you are covering the model, it could be a good idea to leave this until afterwards. As we're doing this for display, we'll do it now. Repeat the process on the other side. Dry fitting into the slots, putting the support strut in, lining it into the receiving cutout, and then when you're happy with the alignment, gluing all connections into place. Now, if you have the Balsa version of this model, it is a good idea to run either super glue or cement glue down the outside edges of all of the landing struts, just to give it a lot more reinforcement and strength. It will add a tiny bit of weight, but it is worth it. Helps to seal up the wood and also create a lot more strength in that bond. Included in the kit accessories is a toothpick, which serves as an axle. Just trial fit it there, gauge the width, and then trim the end ever so slightly to the width you want. Slide the axle into the landing, and then slide the wheels over the edges. Should be a fairly snug fit. If not, just align them how you want them. And holding them straight, glue where the wheel passes through the axle on both sides. Make sure that if you want the wheels to turn, you only glue on the outer side, and then they should spin quite naturally. Turning the model over, the last few parts to fit is the classic Eindecker tail, which pushes straight there into the back and will need to be glued directly to the tail plane here. So start with putting some super glue on to the middle of the tail there, and then aligning the tail upright. Simply push it in and hold it in place, like so. The final part of the model in Balsa is the machine gun and rigging mount. Now, the rigging mount is very delicate in the Balsa version, so again, coat it with super glue or your cement just to give it that extra bit of strength. Let it set, and then that glues down into the 2 holes provided on the front of the cowling with a touch of super glue or cement. Like so. You're now ready to cover the model, or if you don't want to cover the model, you're ready to add the rigging, which starts at the center hole here, runs down to the hole in the wingtips here, underneath, back up through the wingtip here, to the centre part, down to the other wingtip, underneath, back up through this hole and to the centre part, and then just ties off. You can double rig it to the outer ones or just use the outer ones. And you can also rig straight down to the sides of the cockpit here. Thank you for buying Henson's Flying Machines Eindecker. We hope you enjoyed building this model.